Then overcoming hurdles after unimaginable loss. North Texas author, speaker, teacher, and farm girl Theo Boyd takes us into the very personal pages of her memoir, My Grief Is Not Like Yours. In Overcoming Hurdles, a daughter's journey of learning to live after unimaginable loss. In her book, My Grief Is Not Like Yours, Whitney, Texas native Theo Boyd shares the story of her parents, their inspiring lives, and tragic deaths, and offers insights and tools to help those dealing with grief. And she is here this morning to take us into the deeply personal pages of her memoir. Thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jane.
So why did you want to write a book? What inspired you?
Well, I was actually working on a different book. I was a creative writing teacher, and it was a book, it was a nonfiction about my grandmother, and then the accident happened on July 29th, 2019, and my mom was killed on our family farm.
So, since you've written about this in your book, you want to share it with our viewers. Tell us a little bit about your mom and dad and the day on your family's peanut farm.
It was a regular day. Me, my sister, my mom, dad, we'd been texting and had a good group text going. And later that afternoon, I noticed that my mom wasn't returning the text. And then I got a phone call, and I heard, that we need to come to the farm. You need to get to the farm. There's been an accident. And it was an accident involving my mom and my dad and a tractor on the farm, and it killed her instantly.
I just cannot imagine what that must have been like for you. You, in fact, said that you just pulled the jacket you have on this morning out of your mom's closet.
Yes.
And wore that especially for today. You share in your book that your dad was diagnosed with dementia about a year before your mother's death. How did that affect both your grief and your relationship?
His dementia was slowly progressing, but after the accident, it catapulted 3 to 5 years. It went fast, and he started to decline very rapidly. And our relationship became that of, I became the adult and he was the child, and I was taking care of him. And that's what happens as they get older, but especially with a dementia patient. And
then 3 years later, what happened on Father's Day?
I went to surprise him with breakfast, and when I went in to find him, he had taken his life. He just couldn't take the pain of losing, his wife, his love of his life any longer, and he lasted 3 years.
That must have been, I can't quite imagine what that would be like for a daughter to experience that.
I don't think that he ever intended that I was going to be the one that found him, because I got to visit him the day before Father's Day, and I told him that I would see him in another couple of days because I had church the next day. But I just last minute decided I was going to go visit him on Father's Day, and I'm actually blessed, I believe, that I was the one that found him. It's a precious moment of my life. He was set free, and I got to find him that way.
So you have taken your pain and made it into purpose, and I've been told by a good friend of mine that you have been so helpful to others who are struggling with grief or a loved one, specifically suicide, because that's a different kind of grief, I would imagine. I don't know, I haven't experienced it. But what would you offer to anyone struggling with what you have been through?
The number one thing is to find a professional person to talk to, somebody that is trained in complicated grief, somebody that's trained in suicide death, somebody that's trained in that type of therapy. And then the next thing I would say is to get a group of friends together. Rely on those friends, and you will find out who those real true friends are. And I talk about that in my book, the friends that are really there for you, and just really lean on them, because they're going to be there to hold you up.
You also talk about how yelling, anger, cursing can be a healthy reaction to loss.
It's okay, and I think we shy away from that. But the night of my mom's accident, my dad was, he's a retired minister, and I was hearing all these words that I'd never heard him say before, and I was like, oh my gosh, and I was texting with my counselor, and she said the most important thing that has stayed with me: say the words. Let him say the words that he needs to say. Those are the words that carry the weight of his pain. So sometimes we just need to say those heavy weighted words, because those are the words that hold our pain.
And another thing is that while all this was happening, you were also going through heartbreak in your own marriage.
Yes. Yeah, the one support system that I thought that I had, I was losing. So everything was just kind of falling apart, Jane. But you just find a way with your friends and your faith to bring it all back in. And I have the gift of writing, and I was journaling. So the writing that was helping me, the therapy that was helping me, I'm finding now is helping others.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I've done a lot of journaling myself, going through difficult times. Nothing like you have faced, but everybody faces difficult times, I think.
Absolutely.
So what's next for you? You've written a book. You want to help
Yes.
people with that. What's next?
We are traveling all over Texas and going to different bookstores, and that's just been so much fun. And I'm working on a second book, and it's going to come out in the fall of 24.
Well, you have a beautiful light in your eyes.
Thank you.
So you've obviously learned a lot that you have to share. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You can meet Theo at her next book signing event, August 22nd, at the Paper Leaves shop in Waxahachie. It's from 10 till 2. For more information, go to thinktheo.com, and we'll be right back.